Welcome to another episode of Miller Chat. Today is September 22nd, 2020. We're now into the fall season. We went from a very, very hot summer to a very, very cold fall. But anyway, at least it's nice walking weather to go out with your families during this COVID crisis. On my show today, my guest is Joe Bellil from from Easter Seals, excuse me, and Mike Kennedy from Center for Living and Working. Welcome, guys. Welcome back.
Hey, Robin, how are you?
Hi there.
Good.
Great to be back.
Yeah, well, we're in the COVID pandemic, and obviously it affects a lot of people, a lot of issues. So, why not be people who are advocates for people, right? With
Yep.
disabilities, elderly, anybody.
It's our second COVID show, right?
Yeah, well, the first one we did, we didn't have a lot of answers about what we know now, though I think every day, every hour, just go to the CDC site. They tend to they keep changing their information every day. I don't know what to believe. So, but that's how it's been since it started. Every day, every hour, information changes, right? But we're all,
Right.
knock wood, we're healthy. So what's going on in terms of transportation? I read, and it was in Facebook and in the front page of the paper, free transportation. Is that right?
Till December?
Yeah,
November?
December 31st.
Yeah, okay.
But I could say, and I know Joe can speak to it too, because we, sit on those same, committees. But even before COVID, Robin, there were many advocates out there that were looking to have free fares anyways, because other cities have done it, and the amount of money they collect in revenues, most of it gets eaten up by the actual physical collection of the fares, including the fare. I'll just call them fare boxes and stuff like that.
Right.
So
right.
It actually streamlines the WRTA's on time on time abilities.
Good.
So like I say, it was kind of being talked about before that, but then they went with the fare free during the COVID, because it meant much less interaction between the bus driver and the passengers, especially ones that don't have the exact change or whatever.
Yeah, what's interesting, they noticed that there's been the arrival time and stuff has been much more accurate. They've been on
That's
time
great.
and everything else, and they say that's part of it. Never mind the whole safety features of not having to touch money and all this other kind of stuff. So I think
Yeah.
that's a real positive thing. And I definitely want to give credit to the Zero Fare Coalition. They're a group of advocates that have been pushing this. A lot of folks see this as a social economic type of issue, especially people who are poor, are have less resources to be able to utilize public transportation. Just like somebody uses a library. You don't pay to go to the library. It's just something that really is to the betterment of the community. So so we're looking at that and watching it. I was going to bring up another thing that we're watching is what's happening in Westboro. There was a Department of Transportation grant that was awarded to the Worcester Regional Transit Authority to have 4 shuttles going on in Westboro. One of the shuttles was one that has that's wheelchair accessible. The other 3 are not, is what I've heard so far. The shuttles are not owned by the WRTA, they're owned by VIA. VIA is a transportation software company, but they also provide different levels of transportation resources, such as vans or whatever. The key thing is, what's neat about this and why we're watching it is because it's an on-demand service that's being provided. And they're going to keep a lot of statistics they're going to keep statistics on, the amount of people using it and all this other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but also about people, who need to use a wheelchair accessible vehicle, and how many people doing that, how often, any kind of issues or whatever else. And so we're really interested in that because we'd love to have an on-demand, accessible, affordable, available system in Worcester
Yeah.
and surrounding towns. So this is something that we want to watch. We've seen this in other places, and it seems to work, but we'd like to see how it does in Westboro and really kind of study that. So we have an on-demand transportation group that is kind of monitoring this process as well as other things. So that's kind of exciting, and it's just starting out. It should be starting out right now, is what we were
That's
told.
awesome. I read about that. I've been talking about that for years. They wanted to be a feeder service to the train station. Is that going to be still ongoing?
So that is a separate thing. It's
Separate
still,
program? Okay.
I think they stopped that service because of COVID, and then
Right.
there was some sort of feeder service. But this is going to be kind of definitely directed to businesses as much. I believe it's open to anybody, but they really like to see if they can establish riders going to the Westboro businesses, because this is taking place in the Westboro service area. So good for Westboro. I'm glad they're having this, but it's definitely something we're going to be watching, because we'd love to see an accessible on-demand service in the Worcester area, including Shrewsbury and the towns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I know people in Shrewsbury, and I know a lot of people are using Uber. I mean, Lyft was taken over. They're no longer Lyft. But is there still the accessible issue with Uber? If you call Uber on demand, they don't have accessible vans?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, my understanding is last year or so, there was like a million Uber or Lyft trips done in the city, in the area, and none were accessible.
Hmm.
So, so that's why we want to see an on-demand service. And it should, in my opinion, it makes sense. It's kind of the future of transportation, right?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, on-demand, people want on-demand. And a lot of times people see the big buses going by with only a couple people or empty. So, is there a way that Worcester could overlay an on-demand transportation service on top of a fixed route service that deals more with a really heavy amount of riders at certain locations, or things like that? So just to make the total transportation better.
I agree, especially in the 21st century. We want to become more green, right?
Right.
Right? We learned a lot from COVID. I mean, animals are back, and they saw from space how it was less polluted, how the environment was getting better, the climate. So it only makes sense that people want to drive less. We hope that happens,
Right.
and hopefully it's fair to everybody.
And just again, out in Boston, they had the MBTA ride, Uber Lyft pilot program, and they actually did have they do have waves out there, wheelchair accessible vehicles, and we actually know people who have used them. In fact, unfortunately, it was a year ago, but at the Abilities Expo, a couple of my coworker friends that met me out there at the Abilities Expo, and they took the commuter rail in, but then from South Station they took the Uber, a wave vehicle. Yeah, so yep, and it worked well for him.
So how has COVID impact people with disabilities, elderly? What has changed? I mean, is there any upcoming changes in kind of policy? Now, I know this is still new, the Alliance, right? The Disability Alliance for the nursing homes, right? That's still new, guys, right? Did I say that right?
The Dignity Alliance, Massachusetts.
Dignity Alliance, yes.
Yeah. It's still very new. I know I sit on the legislative, subcommittee on that. Meg Coffin, our CEO, sits on, I think, either the nursing home or I forget that there's 7 or 8 subcommittees.
Oh,
I think it's
wow.
like the PCA home care one.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Yep.
I was just on the call.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so she sits on that. So Joe, you sit on it too.
Yeah, I just recently joined.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's definitely new, but we got some heavy hitters on there. So yeah, I mean, I know a big push is more services, housing and services available that are in the community versus nursing homes, because so many of the COVID, deaths were from nursing homes, group homes, and some of these folks, had they been in the community, may not have been, in that situation.
but it's due to a lack of accessible housing. Is that one of the things they're finding? The key findings from the nursing home death? Lack of services in the community? Is that what they're one of the conclusions they're coming to?
And and I know Joe. I'm sure Joe has some stuff to add to, but yeah, I mean, accessibility is one thing, but affordability is another. I mean, housing. I mean, there's all sorts of new housing being developed in Worcester, even during the COVID, but if they're market rate housing, if it's market rate housing, it's I mean, it's really not going to benefit our vast majority of our consumers much, because they're on fixed incomes. And it's kind of comical. You got a I heard CLW actually got a call from some of the new housing folks going, hey, we have these some really nice accessible units, and but no one's responding to them, and it's like, well, how much is the rent? And it's like, well, it's like $1,700 for a 1-bedroom. It's like, well, if you get a SSI, if SSI is your primary, income. I mean, what's that? Like $800-900 a month? That's not going to work. And even even if you're SSDI, where you might have a higher monthly income, and much less asset restrictions. Still, I mean, $1,700 a month is a lot.
It doesn't include food and everything else.
Right.
Are the section? I wanted to ask, what's the update of the Section 8? Are they frozen? Or are they still giving them out during the COVID?
Ooh.
I haven't heard anything.
I'm not 100% sure. To be honest with you.
I mean, they've learned. I mean, I thought they would just give out Section 8 to people who are eligible, to agencies to give them out, because we're learning about the lack of accessible and affordable housing, and we know we can't keep people in shelter because it's not healthy, especially now, and or nursing homes. But I've heard zero information about Section 8.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Right. Right. And yeah, Steve would, definitely be able to speak to it, better. But there's project-based Section
housing.
8, and there's also the mobile Section 8, which is, that's basically the Willy Wonka, golden candy bar. It just means you can, go go to just about any housing unit that offers Section 8 versus project-based, which would be limited to that particular, housing authority.
But there's a cap,
housing thing.
Mike. There's a limit to how much that will pay, right? If you have like one bedroom, 2 bedroom, or what the amount of the family. I believe it's capped. So
that's right.
So you have one person, you know, it's not going to cover the $1,700, rent. No, I mean, you're going to be paying out of your pocket. The person's not going to be able to afford it. So
right.
That's the other factor too.
Yeah. And I do know, at least with the alternative housing voucher program, which is affordable, accessible housing for individuals with disabilities that are under the age of 60, I believe is the age. And I know those caps had been raised. I don't know if that applies to other Section 8s, but they did actually increase, that, cap. But I'm sure they're not keeping up with the, rents that people are being forced to pay because of, there's a whole lot of factors. One of the biggest is, you think, Worcester housing is accessible. Is expensive. It's even worse in, Boston, metropolitan Boston.
Definitely.
So, so they're all, many are, living here in Worcester and, just jumping on the commuter rail to Boston.
Mm-hmm. If people want to go back on it.
Yeah.
Right.
If people want, now I know you guys are into what else you got to say? Anything new with employment or anything? Has that been frozen because of COVID?
The employment?
Yeah.
It's been tough. I believe when I've heard from MRC, I think people have lost jobs, people with disabilities.
Okay.
I'm still involved in an employment advocacy group statewide that's pushing. We'd like to see the state be a model employer and hire more people with disabilities. Right now, the state has about 3% of the state employees are people who have identified themselves as people with disabilities. Right. And that number should be more around 12%. That was their benchmark that they had. Definitely COVID's playing into it, of course, but I'm definitely concerned about the employment rate for people with disabilities. It's gone up a little bit since the Americans with Disabilities Act, but it hasn't gone up that much. And so that's something that, we're trying to push. We've also been pushing the contractors to the state to hire more people with disabilities. And we got legislation that went into effect for that. And just trying to bring more awareness to that issue.
Yeah. One thing somebody said, what I've heard is that more people are working from home, and they said, people with disabilities have been saying that for years.
Yeah, that's true.
That working from home doesn't mean you're not productive.
Right.
You heard that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it can be this could be a good thing for folks with disabilities to show the flexibility and the productivity that somebody can have, working from home and things. And the amount of time that you save too. You don't have to drive now to Boston for meetings, which is so important, especially if you're living out in Central Mass or Western Mass.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I know we, Center for Limited Working Employees are working remotely, including myself. And it is good. And Joe's right. It's much easier for one to attend meetings that are out in Boston. I know me personally, some of those early morning meetings, I will now be able to attend because, just the nature of my disability, my, the mornings are absolute torture for me. It's a, 12-round boxing match. The one drawback I have with it, like today, for instance, I refer to it as Zoom hell. Like I had 4 Zoom meetings today, and thank God, if this was like any other kind of meeting, I would not be nearly as enthusiastic and doing, because it's like this is my 4th Zoom today, but because it's it's Miller Chat, and
Right.
it's something I enjoy doing.
And you're with good people, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a show in the studio like 2 weeks ago, but my guests didn't wear the mask, but I wore the mask, and it's like having a talk with the mask on. You know what I mean?
Tricky.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to talk with the mask on.
So,
You know.
Robbin, you were talking about employment, right?
Yeah.
And then we talked about, just being able to work from home. I think this whole virtual access to like meetings, public meetings, and everything else is really important for the whole disability community, as well as everybody else. It saves a lot on transportation costs and other kind of things like that. But more importantly, it gives access, almost like equal access to people to engage in meetings. I mean, Mike and I have gone to so many meetings in Boston, that are key meetings, and that's where a lot of people have been able to network and do other things. But now it's like it's equal time when we don't have, from people from Central Mass, for example, can be on a Zoom call at 8:30 in the morning without having to go 2 hours, driving to Boston, never mind parking, and the other accessibility. We can do that, and anyone can do that from their home or whatever else that has the access. And that's, of course, you need to have the access, and that's not the issue too about technology. But still, it's something that I think that we need to fight for too. To make sure that this continues even after COVID, that we have the same kind of access, that statewide meetings, open meetings should all have the capabilities of allowing people to engage in it through a virtual method. It just to me makes it more accessible. I mean, even like the transportation meeting in Worcester, the WRTA advisory board meeting, 8:30 in the morning, has been restrictive, in my opinion, for some folks with disabilities to be able to access that meeting.
Absolutely.
8:30 is tough to get down there for people that have like PCAs and other types of, things. And so, so it kind of, it's a barrier for people to get engaged more into the public. So that, and even evening meetings. Sometimes, if they're, because you have PCA needs or whatever else, and transportation too. So I just think that's something that I think the disability community should really start pushing more, to make sure that we do have this kind of virtual access.
And have you guys had people who have had internet issues who can't afford it? I mean, they've asked Spectrum to give it to people low income in Worcester for education reasons. Are you finding some of the people you know of are not getting access to the internet? Having trouble getting access to it?
I haven't found that, because I know, I mean, I would refer them to different places, including East Seals. I have heard Western Massachusetts individuals from that area having really difficulty just hooking up. And it's not even not having the right equipment. It's just the lack of broadband. And so that's very concerning. But, mostly there are different programs out there that, so if somebody needs some sort of technology and they have a disability and they need for the quality of life, there's programs. UCCLS has a program, Mass Rehab, if you're an active, Mass Rehab client, there are different programs out there. So, always, it's always important to check with your like IELTS Independent Living Center or UCCLS or whatever.
And I agree with what Joe's saying. I know, like I told you before, we're all working remotely now. In fact, we were all given new Dell 2-in-1s, Windows 10. That's why I'm able to participate in this meeting using my computer. Remember the first Zoom meeting we did, I had to use my cell phone because my home laptop. Yeah. my home laptop, the camera no longer functions. But the digital divide is definitely prevalent out there in the Worcester school systems. And the city is unfortunately they only have one company, and that's Charter, and they're usually at the bottom of the ratings and consumer reports for that. And I know the city council is not very happy with them because they're not stepping up and assisting the families that really don't have some actually don't have any internet access at all, and others have very inferior access. Joe, maybe you know better. I mean, is stuff like DSL and dial-up still out there?
That's what I heard in Western Mass. Yeah, I was like surprised.
Yes, they have it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. AOL still has it too.
Yikes! Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, and I don't even know what I'm talking about, but just to just.
It is scary, Mike, when you're talking technology. But
oh God, yeah, seriously, it's. But yeah, I mean, just the Zoom call alone, just think of how much technology is going on there. And even in the 90s, remember emails? Remember they were, it was pretty much, just text. But
yes.
Now, oh my God, now, you gotta, you gotta, get rid of the pop-ups and deal with all that side, all the advertisements, the advertisements of the free emails like Yahoo or Gmail, and I'm sure others do it, but I know that hogs a lot of RAM as well. Wow, almost sound like I know what I'm talking about, huh?
I'm just listening.
All right, guys. So we have another minute to go.
Uh-oh.
What do you want?
Wow.
Let's wrap up.
We got to talk about. We got to rev up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
voting. Go ahead.
Two things. One, it's really important for people to make sure they're filling out their census forms.
Okay.
And my understanding is that they'll have till September 30th to do that. So if people haven't done that, do it online, get that done. It's really important. The second thing is rev up. And that's Mike and I, the organizations are involved with this group. It's a national group to basically encourage people with disabilities to sign up, to register to vote and to vote. And so people have the deadline here is to apply for a mail-in vote is mail-in ballot, that is Saturday, October 24th. So I know I did the mail-in last time. It was great. It was great. You can even verify that your ballot made it to the to the clerk by just going online. So I really enjoyed it. It was a great process.
All right. Yep. So Bunky, do you have anything last to say, Mike?
Yeah. No, just Joe is exactly right, and yeah, vote. I mean, it's more important than ever.
All right. Well, I thank Mike Kennedy from Easter Seals coming on, and Joe Bellil, I'm sorry, Mike Kennedy from Center for Living and Working, and Joe from Easter Seals from coming on my show today. Please, as everyone say, get out and vote. And take care.
Thank you, Robbin.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care.
All right,
you too.